Hello, Browns fans. Spencer German coming to you live from Cleveland Browns Stadium after a thrilling 20-17 win by the Cleveland Browns over the Chicago Bears. Yes, I know I look goofy with the big headphones. My other ones died, but you know what? It doesn't matter because the Browns got to win today, and we got some good stuff to talk about. Because Megs, to me, man, this was one of those games, and we'll hit on some specifics here in a second. But this was one of those games where we've talked about this before. Football is such a weird sport, man. You just never know what's going to happen. You play poorly for basically 3 quarters on offense. It looks like Flacco fever's losing some of its luster. The defense played great pretty much the entire game. They kept you in it, and then in the final sort of stanza of things here, the fourth quarter, the offense finally gets in a rhythm and pulls this thing out and gets the win. Just one of those fluky games that you can't you couldn't Hollywood couldn't have written a better script for.
No, you're dead right, and I can't speak for you, but I know for me, I got I don't know maybe 20 texts midway through the game like Flacco's done, Flacco this, Flacco that. I'm seeing tweets that I saw a tweet that was like Flacco is marginally better than Dorian Thompson Robinson or something like that, and it's just like holy cow! First of all, our fan base does ride the wave a little bit, but that fourth quarter, man, you play 60 minutes. That coaches preach that from the time you're in Pee Wee playing for whoever may be your dad and your uncle, right? They're preaching that you play the whole game, and it goes all the way up into the pros. And you even heard Flacco in the post game. He's like, people are congratulating us on the sidelines. You can't celebrate until that clock hits 000. And the way that they responded in the fourth quarter, I mean, Joe Flacco, like we're going to talk about him tonight and the rest of the week, but fourth quarter, 11 of 13, 212 yards.
Yeah.
Down. Are you kidding me? Are you serious? That's what he did in the final 15 minutes. Is insane.
I was on the record this week saying that if Flacco takes his team to the playoffs, he would be like an instant legend in this town. Well, he's one step closer to that with the win today because the Browns go to 9-5, chance to clinch a playoff. I shouldn't say a chance because if they win next week, I don't think they clinch. They need some other things to kind of happen. We'll get obviously what the playoff scenarios are as the week kind of progresses here and as some of these other games play themselves out. But it'll be a big one against Houston next week. But yeah, like he has cemented himself, I think, especially with the win today and just what he did in the fourth quarter as one of those just amazing Brown stories that fans will remember forever, especially assuming that this thing is going to end in a trip to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, he was just spectacular, and it's so funny to watch. Like for the past 5 years now, we've been obviously trying to find the solution at quarterback, and not saying he's a long-term solution, but when he stands back there, it's just different, right? It's like, hey, you always feel it's like, you just feel like you're never out of it, right? If he's playing poorly like he was in the first half, and he was playing poorly, like the 2 picks were his, like 2 of those interceptions were his fault. Obviously, one wasn't, but like he wasn't playing well. But it's like he even said it, like you just keep going. It's never about the play that happened before, whether it's good or bad. It's always about that next play and how you can continue to push the team forward. And he's been in every type of situation. He's lost on plays like what we almost lost on. He's won on them. He's been in close games. He's been in blowouts. He's seen it all, and he's exactly what this team needs where they're at right now.
I feel very similar about it. Like he came and joined this team at the right time as they're trying to make a playoff run. His story continues to be remarkable. We got to talk about the defensive side of the ball, though, as well. Just phenomenal today, even given the sheer – I mean, Megs, this is a week that started with more bad news on the injury front. We find out Jed Wills isn't coming off the IR. Obviously, that's an offensive guy. You get the news that Grant Delpit could be on the IR. He does end up on the IR. Maurice Hurst is done for the season. Obo Okoronkwo, we don't know if he's done for the season just yet, but sort of the winds are blowing that direction. It sounds like they're waiting for confirmation, but he obviously wasn't available today because of the pec injury. And the defense didn't miss a beat. I kind of had to remind myself pregame, like as bad as some of those injuries were going to hurt this team and this defense, the one thing that was a silver lining to all of it is like, okay, your starting front line is still intact. You still got Dalvin Tomlinson. You still got Zadarius Smith. You still got Myles Garrett. You still got Shelby Harris and Jordan Elliott, who played today despite being in the concussion protocol all week. So, I mean, you had still those guys were wreaking havoc today. They made some really good plays. I thought Dalvin Tomlinson was phenomenal in his own right. And hats off as well to the guys in the secondary because no Grant Delpit, no Juan Thornhill. I thought Ronnie Hickman playing as a rookie, he had some moments. I thought DeAnthony Bell almost made me forget that Grant Delpit even played for this team. No offense to Grant Delpit, he's a great player, and obviously we're glad to see that he got the extension to stay here in Cleveland. But I mean, he was making some Grant Delpit-like plays in this game.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, let's focus right now specifically on that secondary. Okay, you come in, DJ Moore is averaging 100 yards a game. Right, they don't have a great passing attack, but DJ Moore is this big play threat, and you're down your entire safety room. Right, you're starting Ronnie Hickman, undrafted free agent, D'Anthony Bell, a second-year guy out of West Florida University, and then Duron Harmon, who is now you signed him this week to the 53-man roster. This guy's in his 11th year. He's been great, but he hasn't played all year. Last time he played was early November for the Chicago Bears. So you have this group of in the secondary. You're like, like if things start to break down, like you got a really young group, and they responded awesome. The cornerback room responded unbelievably. Greg Newsome, we're gonna watch it, and we'll watch it this week. He was a rock star today. I mean, he was everywhere he needed to be. They were testing him early.
It almost feels like since that Denver game where he struggled, especially against Cortland Sutton, he's been like on a mission to prove that game was almost like a cosmic fluke. Like it was never going to happen again. He's been phenomenal the last couple weeks, and he was very good again today. I agree.
And you could see it right away. First two drives, they tested him vertically. There was two deep throws that were right at Greg Newsome, and he was right there in the right spot. He almost had a pick six, which would have been great. He dropped it, but like there was so much to love about that secondary. And then, hey, Cam Mitchell, 5th-round pick out of Northwestern, has been on IR for the last month. Okay, comes in, makes the play of the game, pretty much saves the game at the end of the third quarter. I mean, that secondary, there's not enough good things to say about how they played today, and they need to get their credit for it.
We'll be doing a few more videos where we will talk about the defense, specifically that Cameron Mitchell play. I mean, there's a case to be made that play saved the game for Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious to dissect that with you a little bit more. We started with the positive. There was some negatives today, I think, as well, Anthony. You had the offensive line losing Joel Bitonio early, which Kevin Stefanski said after the game that it sounds like that was something he tweaked pregame, and he tried to give it a go, and then just kind of after the first series there, he was like, I'm not going to be able to do this. So we don't know the severity of that. Obviously, we'll find out more from Kevin Stefanski on Monday on that front. Michael Ford did leave this game as well. He never returned. I don't know the severity of his injury, so we'll wait for updates on that. But without Joel Bitonio, to go back to the offensive line here, that group struggled today, which is probably part of the reason why it took Flacco so long to get going. He was running for his life. He was under constant pressure. Montez Sweat was just absolutely owning James Hudson a couple times, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to James Hudson, but Browns fans have seen him struggle with some of these elite pass rushers before, and he did so today. There's a couple plays, the weird sort of Flacco it almost was like he tried to shovel the ball out of bounds and he fumbled it. Jaron Christian got shoved right back into him on that play. He was basically on skates. So even the guys on the ends who had kind of held their own in place of Jedrick Wills and DeJuan Jones and Jack Conklin, they struggled today. But yeah, without Joel Bitonio, that group was leaking from pretty much anywhere across it. It was not pretty.
It was the first time all year that the injuries that we have sustained to this point were evident. Like it was we've been able to mask them, and Kevin Stefanski and Alex Van Pelt on the offensive side specifically have been able to mask all those injuries and like, hey, just kind of fill in spots and you cover this guy. It was too much today. Like there's nothing you can do when you got 4, not even backup linemen playing, like 3rd and 4th string guys playing. It's like really, really challenging. And it was evident today, like even, and then Wyatt Teller's your last one remaining, and like he's just getting teed off on because these guys are running stunts in games and like they're getting crushed inside. It was really it's amazing that they won the football game because that was going to be the story had they not. Like it was very nerve-wracking before things started going our way. Like, hey, you got to find 2 wins in these last 3 games with like a patchwork offensive line that's like, it just beat up. And it was very evident for the first time all year. And it's kind of like, this is what we got going forward.
Yeah, that was definitely alarming. And even in the win, it's going to be something that we talk about this week, of course, because you got some tough opponents coming up, especially that Jets game where they have a very, very good defense.
Yep.
Maybe not. Aaron Rodgers ends up playing. We'll see. That's a conversation for another day. But yeah, I think that's going to be a problem. I think you saw in the run game. The run game struggled all day. Flacco was under duress all day. I don't know how that's going to affect things moving forward, but obviously it's not a good feeling. It's a good feeling that you get the win even despite that. But moving forward, that is obviously going to be a concern for this team for sure.
Yeah, and one other thing too, on the last, I guess, negative note, they got to figure out the run game. Like you don't, you've gotten 3 straight weeks of Flacco throwing it 44 plus times. If we were to ask Kevin Stefanski what his ideal number would be for throws, it wouldn't be that. He's going to be he wants it to be more balanced.
See, I kind of disagree. I feel like Stefanski loves just slinging it.
He loves chucking it. Yeah.
Well, here's the way I look at it, Anthony. Like I think about it like this. Like Jerome Ford, he's had some good games, he's had some bad games. It's been kind of hit or miss at times. I kind of feel like at times Stefanski just goes with what he trusts. And right now, I think he feels like he can trust Flacco more than he can trust his run game and his running backs. So that's what he's riding. And it's working. He's got a couple wins out of it now in a row. And so I think they're going to kind of just keep riding that for the most part until it basically doesn't work.
I would also add to that exact point, not only does he trust Flacco with it, but he trusts David Njoku and Amari Cooper and Cedric Tillman now is getting an increased role, and he's going to have to kind of step up some things. But like he had a bunch of targets today, and even Elijah Moore had a couple critical catches. So it's like, hey, he trusts that side of that part of the game a little bit more than the run game right now. But hey, at this point in the year, it doesn't matter. Like it just doesn't matter how you get it done. It just matters that you get it done. And that's the important, that's the special part about this team is they just keep finding different ways to get it done.
You brought him up real quick, so we'll sort of wrap with this and then talk quickly just about what lies ahead for the Browns, the potential playoff picture. But Cedric Tillman, the one interception goes right off his hands. It looks like the first interception was also potentially his fault. It looked like there was clearly a miscommunication there because Flacco threw it to a spot and Tillman was going deep. And then obviously we know the third interception was totally on Flacco. Yeah. But what did you see on those plays? And here's the thing with Tillman. Like he had some really good moments today, and he's had that in his first couple of games here that he's been more prominent since DPJ got traded. But he's also had some moments where you're like, yeah, this guy's clearly a rookie.
Yeah, clearly a rookie. And that's the thing, too. Some of the things you see, and I think that interception, the first one that was returned to the 1 yard line, is a perfect teaching moment for a young rookie. Because the way I see it, and there's going to be some drawings you'll see on Twitter tonight where people are kind of dissecting that play, is they had what's called a bender route where if you get 2 high safeties, he's supposed to bend it in. And Flacco's like, hey, dude, I've seen this coverage 300 million times in my career. It's clearly 2. And for Tillman, it's like, I've seen it 22 times, or whatever, so he didn't really see it. And it's an important play. And Flacco's throwing it on time, whereas he doesn't really make the bend. The second one, I disagree with you there. That one's all on Flacco. You'll see it. He missed him a little bit inside and he got thumped. And it was all like Tom Brady talks about it. Quarterbacks need to be held responsible for getting their guys blown up. It was one of those where he just put him in a terrible spot and he just got blasted. But all those things are learning points for Cedric Tillman, who, he's going to continue to get better.
Look at that. You got a little preview of our Brownie breakdown for this week, talking about the interceptions and the Cedric Tillman stuff. So stay tuned for that. Obviously coming up on Tuesday or Wednesday this week. But in the meantime, guys, a big win for the Browns. Like I said, 9-5 now on the season. The highs of this game, defense being fantastic, basically only giving up 3 points in the second half. Here's another note real quick that I didn't hit on, because I wrote a story about this during the week. The Browns have now given up 111 points off of turnovers alone. And that's either it directly leads to a touchdown off or points off of the a turnover, or the team scores after they get a turnover. So that's something that's been an issue for them all season. And if they could clean that up, you wonder if their record would even be even better, and if they'd actually have a shot maybe at the AFC North. So we'll see. But they do have a shot at the playoffs. Next week on the road in Houston, Christmas Eve. You might have an early Christmas present if the Browns can get you a win and improve to 10-5 on the season and get one step closer to clinching that playoff berth for the first time since 2020. We got plenty more to come. Be sure to follow along over at the Browns Digest YouTube channel. We're going to be talking about Joe Flacco more. We're going to be talking about the defense some more, and some other notes that we got to get to. We certainly didn't give enough love to David Njoku, who had 10 catches for 104 yards and a touchdown today.
Unbelievable.
We're going to do that, though, in another episode. So keep it locked. Keep on following along. And as always, follow along with everything we're doing covering the Cleveland Browns over at BrownsDigest.com.